Hi, my name's Nick and I'm the plant doctor at the Moana Nursery in Pyramid, and today I'm going to talk about grapes. Grapes are very hardy. They don't really need a lot of nutrients in their soil. They would like a lower pH, but when they're being planted, you don't need to add a lot of organic matter because they're okay with a really poor soil. That being said, adding some acidic planting mix would be a good idea when you first plant them. And then annual fertilization is also a good idea. As you know, there's a lot of different varieties of grapes. We sell some that are good for jellies, that are good for fresh eating, and we even have a couple varieties that are good for winemaking. The most common jelly grape that we sell is the Concord. It's really gelatinous and it makes a great jelly. There's a lot of varieties that are great for fresh eating, like the Himrod. That's a green grape. It's a sweet and sour grape. The Vanessa, Candidus, Suffolk Red are my favorites, and the Vanessa grape is good for winemaking. Wine grapes tend to be a little more maintenance because you need to worry about specific pruning and how much to prune and specific soil pHs if you want a really high quality flavor of grape. You also need to worry about watering. A lot of grapes, when they're starting to fruit, you need to water them a little bit less. This will stress them out a little bit, but it increases the sugar content of the grape. Some people think, I've got grapes, let me pump them with water, but sometimes this can make the skin split on the grapes and it makes a really watery grape. Same thing with tomatoes, very, very similar. Grapes also have a great ornamental appeal. You don't need to plant them just for the fruit. They look gorgeous on a fence line or on an arbor with the grapes hanging down. They also have a really pretty fall color, and a lot of people are a fan of the really big leaf. When you're planting them, you need a lot of sun, at least 6 hours. You ideally need a spot for them to climb up. So a trellis, a arbor, or a fence line where you can train them. And then like always, when you're planting, make sure to dig the hole twice as wide as a container and just as deep. And like I said, you can add some soil amendment, but it's not necessary for grapes in particular. Grapes are prone to some insects. We see a lot of leaf hoppers and whiteflies on them, and that shouldn't kill them, but if it persists year after year, it may do some damage. So applying a pesticide when you start to see signs of these bugs is a great idea. Grapes are a great way to introduce birds into your yard. That being said, if you don't want birds to affect your grapes, you can do a netting. Sometimes this is hit or miss depending on the bird. Other than that, trying to keep a watchful eye out or putting streamers around the grapes to try to deter them is a good idea as well. When pruning grapes, it's important to prune them in February or April, and you want to prune last year's growth. This will increase the production of fruit in the current year. So if you leave all of last year's growth, it's going to have too much leafy growth and you're not going to get as many fruit. So cutting it back to increase the fruit yield is very important. When pruning, it's important to take it back so that the spur is what it's called, has at least 3 to 5 nodes. Not very important if you're not super particular about your fruit production, but if you do want to increase the yield or maximize it, make sure you're getting the amount of nodes. Like I said, grapes are a great way to introduce birds, get some nice foliage color in the fall. You get the really pretty fruit in the late summer. And if you have any questions, come and see us.